Hello and welcome back. Everything eventually comes back. Everything eventually comes back. When you think you're done with something, the universe is kind enough to send you all the challenges you need in the world. As soon as you get comfortable, you get a kick in the arse. A simple reminder constantly. Everything is really a cycle. Oh man. And in life, when you think you're done with something, you're not. I'm learning to never believe that you're done with anything. As soon as you believe you're done with something and you get too comfortable, the universe just shakes everything up for you. No matter how solid you think you are. No matter how far past certain things you think you are. And this is the constant reminder that there's certain levels. You get to a point and you're comfortable here for a while and you think all of these things that used to bother you aren't going to bother you anymore, and for a while they don't seem to, and it seems as though you're gaining and you're getting progress, and then all of a sudden you seem to be under it again. So I realize it's kind of doing this. And what does a person do? I mean, what can you do when you're underneath a wave and you're just being thrashed around in the sea, and you're at that point where you're trying to lift your head up and another wave crashes? I mean, you can only really hold your breath and try to make sure you understand what it is you're getting into. Hopefully, in the same way that you might almost die in that white water that you see some surfers get lost in, hopefully you learn, one, what your abilities are, what you're able to handle, so that the next time you don't put yourself in that situation. And number two, hopefully you learn what to do so that when life does place you again in that situation, and it will, that the next time you know what to do. Maybe you understand, the currents better, and you can face that situation with that knowledge that you gained from the experience of going through that over and over and over. And again, one of the things you learn is that every once in a while you fall. You're not always going to stay on that surfboard. So that's a tough lesson I'm swallowing right now. What can you do, right? Keep going. You hear that. And just at the thought of keep going feels overwhelming to me. Just that thought, keep going, makes me feel like I just want to give up. And that's something that we all experience from time to time. I feel kind of silly giving advice. It sounds like I'm giving advice, and it feels silly to make a video about this. When I haven't mastered certain aspects myself. But I'm realizing it's not about mastering a certain aspect and then always being above it. As I mentioned before in these videos, I'm not trying to portray an image of someone who's enlightened and gone past these things in my life. I'm making these videos from a point of view of being authentic, filming what it is that I'm experiencing when I'm experiencing it. If I go through a tough time, then hopefully that shows because the message I'm trying to really send out here is for everyone to be okay with who they are, and to understand that life is not going to go the way you always want it to go. Hopefully a person gains a little bit of inner strength from watching these videos and seeing that someone as well is also going through the same thing, that in the end we're all in it together on whatever level it is that we are experiencing it, right? Again, I made a video about confidence, and what confidence is to me is the ability to confide in yourself, so that when you're going through tough times, like I currently am within the last week or so, to be able to rely on yourself, not have to use other people as a pick-me-up. And which is fine. Sometimes that's great. Sometimes that works, and everybody has their own level. But confidence to me is to be able to do that for yourself, because sometimes you can weigh other people down. I've seen this in my life. A lot of people live in a certain way that when they feel down, they dump it on other people. And then certain people might not be equipped to handle that sudden dump of negativity. And then they need to carry it. And on some level, we all do it. Certain people in our lives are a doorway, or it's easier often to dump your negativity on people who are closest to us. So this is a lesson that I myself am learning. Very difficult. What a ride. What a ride we've been experiencing. As I mentioned in one of the previous videos before, we were going to be facing this. And this is just a natural evolution in our raising up of our frequency. What's happening right now is a lot of the things that we don't want to look at are coming up to the surface. The aspects of ourselves that we don't like, that we wish weren't there as much, the stuff that we consider more to be the negative aspects are coming to the surface. So you may notice that there's certain things that you're drawn to and certain things that you're not. And my advice would be not to overwhelm yourself, because your energy levels will change. Sometimes we will try to tackle a certain negative aspect and overcome it, but it may be too much, because on one day you may have a high level of energy and the next day you won't. And what happens is, if you can't stay consistent on the thing that you're trying to overcome, then eventually it will overwhelm you, because its level of consistency is always there. But your level of energy to deal with certain things might not always be there. So you want to pick your battles carefully. Your intuition knows what's right. And sometimes you get to the point where what they call the kitchen sink in your spiritual journey, where it seems as though you've dealt with so many of the little things in your life that what you're stuck with is the really big ones. And eventually it might happen that you need to learn to let certain fights go, certain battles go. Some of them you may seem to be making ground, but eventually they win that battle, okay? And that's often the way it goes. So a reminder that the journey, the spiritual journey, is not about conquering all your negativities. It's this is just a process that we go on. I've heard many people who have gone through a near-death experience say that what's most important here is to learn to love other people. And that can sometimes be the most difficult thing. So advice I would give is not to try to love people. And again, that can be very draining on you if you're trying to love people that you just cannot. So learn to love yourself first. Learn to love yourself first. Learn to love yourself first. That's the number one relationship that you're with 24/7. No matter where you go, you're always with yourself. So learn to love yourself first. Be who you are, be authentic to yourself. Let yourself shine in whatever capacity you can. And sometimes you're just going to be in that white water, you're going to fall. So I'll leave you with that. And thank you for watching, wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this video. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Peace.